Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Tipple's virtual wine tasting with Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre from Tipple's Brews and Wines in Gainesville, Florida. This week, we are going old world per request by Elizabeth.
Per my request, yes.
That's right. So we are going old world, old school French, right?
Okay.
So the M. Chapoutier Les Meysonniers. Crozes Hermitage
I like it
Rouge.
when it makes you have to pronounce all of these words. It's great.
Meysonniers.
Your ancestors are like rolling over in their grave.
They are. I believe it's Meysonniers.
Okay,
So,
cool.
it's a syrah from the Northern Rhone
Awesome.
Valley. Yes. If you would like,
You want me to share?
well, go ahead and share the first screen while I pour you a glass.
Okay.
You are welcome.
Mm.
Little for me. All right, so wine ratings in this guy. We'll see what we think later, but Wine Spectator gives it a 93. Jeb Dunnick a 91. Food pairings: brined and grilled eggplant, barbecue pork, blue cheeses, and bacon wrapped duck breast,
Okay.
which is the thing that needs to happen in my life.
Oh, you would love that.
Yes, I would.
Yes. Anytime Jeff gets to eat duck too, he's very happy.
I am.
Mhm.
I love duck.
Yeah, and then I mean bacon,
Everyone loves bacon.
right?
You can try not to love bacon, you're gonna love bacon. It is, just is what it is. All right, gorgeous color on this. Very beautiful garnet. Varietal on this is, like I said, 100%. It is Syrah. Alcohol content 14%. So for this being a cooler growth area in the Northern Rhone Valley, 14% is pretty robust, right? And that's quite a bit going on.
Okay,
Could easily be in the 13.
really? All cooler growth areas cause less alcohol?
Yes, because you get less ripeness.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, you get reduced ripeness. I mean, yes and no. Is it always gonna, if you leave it on long enough, right?
Okay.
It just will take longer to get there.
Okay.
So not necessarily that, I'm not saying you can't get higher alcohol from cool growth areas, but you sure better not get a rain late in your season, because it's gonna take a lot longer to get to the ripeness that you want.
Okay.
Age worthiness on this, it's kind of not made. Now, some Hermitage is made to last forever, right? This one is actually made to retain some of the freshness of the grape. We'll talk about what they did to do that in a moment. But age worthiness on this one, though it can hang out, is actually they're recommending only 5 to 7.
Oh, okay. And what
Right.
are we?
We're at 4.
Okay.
So
For 2019.
yeah.
Okay.
Barely 4. So all right, so aging on this, they aged it in 15% of the wine was aged in French oak. The 85% was aged in concrete tanks.
Oh.
So that was to retain freshness and give a nice kick to the minerality in the wine.
Okay.
And that reason, that their desire for that fresh fruit in here is the reason for them to limit
Okay.
the suggestion on number of years to age.
And you said this is completely Syrah? Okay, maybe this is a dumb question, but I thought Old World tended to do more blends than single varietals. Am I wrong with that?
It depends on the region.
Oh, okay.
So you go down to Southern Rhone and it's almost all red blends.
Okay.
Northern Rhone tends to go on their reds, all Syrah, or Syrah blended with a little bit of Viognier, white wine.
Oh, why? Why do they blend it with the?
Viognier is, I always call Viognier the great uplifter, right?
Okay.
Viognier lifts aromas out of the wine. It's incredibly and beautifully aromatic. And to me, that would be one of the main reasons I would. Now, honestly, I'm sure there are several others, but the one that jumps out at me and the benefit I get tends to be aromatic.
Aromatic. And when you add it and is it also enhancing what it's blended with? Or is it just the aromas that you're getting with the Viognier that You see what I'm saying?
Oh, no, it
Okay.
actually will play with what's in there
Okay.
and lift them all out,
Okay,
right? So
Right.
yes,
Okay.
it is a synergy. It's
Okay.
not just, oh, now you get some viognier along with your syrah. It's a synergy where they play well together,
okay,
and that's why they do it. Yeah.
okay,
1 + 1 = 3 kind of situation.
cool.
Mhm. I need a moment. Ugh,
Okay,
I've been talking too much. I need
he needs time to enjoy the wine a moment.
that's the beautiful old world, right? So
Mhm.
you've got this wonderful earthiness, but it's really not quite earthiness. To me, it's almost a rockiness. Along with pepper and a floral component.
Mhm.
But what is fun, which we talk about this old world versus new world styling of wine, right? When you smell this, is the first thing that jumps out at you unrestrained, definitive fruit? Or is it balanced and it's competing with other factors, right?
Yeah, to
So,
me, it's definitely competing with it.
right, so there we go. That is that old world styling, right?
Okay.
New world tends to lead with the fruit and not by a small amount.
Okay,
Old world has those tertiary components
Mhm.
competing with them, if not dominating at times. Hmm. So on the palate, let's go back to kind of the structure. There was
Okay.
talking about age worthiness.
Okay.
There's a freshness to this fruit, right?
Mhm.
So if I wouldn't say it's a full tart wine, but it's certainly not it's not a wine that tastes like dates, figs, or dried fruit, right? It's
Right.
definitely a freshness
Mhm.
to the fruit, which is what they were going for. So that leaves also means that there's some acidity
Mhm.
left in that wine. Some nice tannin, which I think we'll get more as it continues to open up. But you can see where it would work with we're not talking about a huge, robust cut of steak. This is
Mhm.
more of like, which we didn't have steak on the list, right? It's more of pork
Right,
or, or like say, or duck, that kind of a thing.
okay,
Mhm. Lots going on there.
so explain why it's more pork or duck than a big steak.
It's not as aggressively tannic, right?
Okay.
So this could stomp on, excuse me, this
steak
would be, the steak wouldn't be able to,
would be
it wouldn't
too
be able to
much.
keep up with the steak,
Okay,
right? Now, would it taste bad with steak? No, right? Like literally the pairings, it was funny. This was actually amusing to me.
okay,
When I looked at the winemaker's suggestion for food pairings, they said all meats and cheeses, like just
kidding.
all of them. Yeah, you know what?
It's cool.
You can't say we were wrong.
Can't go wrong.
All of them.
All meats and cheeses.
So, but I would say go with the lighter, like maybe if you go with a steak, more of a filet mignon, the lower fat,
Okay,
right? That kind of a thing.
okay.
Mhm.
We put a fish tank on in the background this week. I don't think it looks like a fish tank.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't know. Well, I just figured it's too warm out,
It
even though
is
it did
too
cool
warm.
down today
Yeah.
to have the fireplace on.
I think it's going down in the 40s tonight here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
So
Enjoy
see,
it. One last hurrah.
last week, but
Well, and then I jumped, you're right. That's how busy I've been today. I just only been reacting with
True.
what I've been thinking. Anyway,
oh wait, hold on.
It's one of
We
those
have a chat. So Chris, when I first opened it, I thought a nice lean steak like a filet, but as it's opened up, it's calmed down. Mhm. What are you guys eating it with? Or eating with it?
Pork actually. We made pork chops the other night and didn't, because there was two of them, we didn't finish it. And when we were trying to brainstorm stuff to have tonight, we were like, we could do the pork with something, and we sort of threw out a couple of ideas. And I think one of the things that you looked up said it would go well with soy.
Yeah, like soy or
something
like sticky
other.
sauces, things like that.
So
that
we
makes sense.
so we kind of just made like a soy. Well, you made the sauce, so it was like a
Soy, ginger, hoisin, stuff like that.
yeah. So it's a little sweet in that regard, and then just like a bunch of chopped veggies. It's like kind of just like a bowl.
Okay.
Stuff like that. Yeah. I think it goes interestingly with it. I haven't had too much with together yet, but
Because interesting.
Interestingly, yeah.
well, it's not like one of these things that like immediately it jumps out as like, oh wow, that's
Sure.
Right.
We'll report back.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, we'll check
Excellent.
later in the evening. What we had last night, would that go with this? Or is it too lean? Like, because do you remember what we had?
It was,
We did sauteed chicken and peppers and spinach and it has hoisin, and we did it over wild rice. Would that work or not?
it wouldn't be horrible. It'd be a little on the light side for it.
Okay,
But the spices would pair nicely.
okay,
So to me, it would be a give and take.
okay.
Right? It's like what we're having tonight, which is, I believe, turkey meatballs with black bean spaghetti in a
Oh,
red sauce, which
that's
is an intriguing thing. I think there's going to be parts of that work well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason we don't know is because my mother cooks for us on Tuesdays. so-
Right.
Yes,
It's very nice.
very nice to do that.
So,
And then Rachel said, I'm wondering what the concrete aging offers to the flavor.
all right, so that will be the minerality, right? It kicks up the minerality. So when you get that kind of a granite taste in there, I always go with like, I don't know why my brain thinks it knows what granite would taste like. Broken granite pebbles, but it just thinks that. Right?
I'm just thinking that when you were like running around in Massachusetts, when you were little, you had to have eaten some dirt or stuck some rocks.
Yeah, just put some rocks in my mouth and probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is what granite tastes like.
I'm not saying it doesn't sound like
I mean,
that.
I'm
But yeah,
sure.
but that mineral concrete,
Mhm.
side of it,
Yeah.
and then the brighter fruit that would come from the concrete aging. And so then you get your spice and you get your pepperiness, that's going to come from the wood aging, right? So when you're in those French oak barrels, then you get a little bit of that baking spice side, the pepper coming through. Pepper is kind of a combo. It's from the fruit, but the oak does not hurt in bringing that out, right? It kind of enhances it.
I really like the way the aroma is changing as it's
Mhm.
opening.
Mm.
Mhm.
Very nice. And
Hey, Jeff.
so this is,
Sorry, can I ask a way too in-depth question?
sure.
You're talking
He'll
about
just
the
make up
concrete-
something if he doesn't know the answer,
Yeah.
so it's fine.
Right, good. You're talking about the concrete battles. Concrete can be made from different combinations of like sand and gravel and stuff. Are they using a specific mixture for their concrete or something?
Yes, and I will text you over.
No, you won't.
I will text you over the specific makeup of the concrete they use for winemaking later.
It's just gonna be one finger that he sends to you. Paul. That's it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, for example, like with barrels, right? With barrel aging, because they use concrete aging in Italy as
Mhm,
well, right?
mhm.
And other areas of the world. So do people have a different mix, that kind of a thing? Or do you need one in order to work
Right.
better with the wine? That's a good question. I don't know.
Right, and Rachel's saying for the construction, that she's preparing scripts for construction concrete right now, and construction concrete has to be different. I mean,
Yeah, I would assume. Yeah.
you could try it out, go and, put
Right.
some grapes in there, ferment them, see what
telling you.
happens.
I don't know.
It's huge, it's vast and varied, because you think you know what it is, and you think we know what concrete is. And I mean, it's everything from what you're driving on, but like there's flexible concrete, there's lightweight concrete, there's things that you put at the top floor of a building, and you're like, oh my goodness, because we've all been in a building and went, how is this not falling over? Is it safe to be up here? We're in the 25th floor. So all these different aspects of it. And now I'm learning about all the components and the chemical components too. So yes, I'm nerding out when it comes to concrete, but I'm going to see if I can get my boss to get us to a winery so we can do a film about the concrete aspects of
Yes.
wine
You need to do
containers.
some research at
Mhm.
least.
I think it might be, yeah.
It's
Mhm.
important.
That's right.
If you need a camera operator, I'm good to come. I'll come with you.
There you go. Rachel's like challenge accepted.
It's fine, I'll do anything you want.
I can speak to the health benefit.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
there we go. See, it takes a team. It does.
It
takes
does,
a team.
yeah. There you
And
go.
we're a good team. All right, so raspberry, cherry, right? We're going on these on the fruits. And so we talked about baking spices, granite, herbs. There's an herbiness to this, which we could kind of delve into a little bit, right? Have some fun with that. That one's maybe, what do you think, sagey? Maybe. I wouldn't go tarragon. I don't think it's light enough for that. It's more sagey,
Mhm.
maybe cuminy almost. I don't know.
I'm not getting.
No, I'm kind of playing around with it. You know what? Let's just go with the ever wonderful herb de Provence and move on, right? I know, but there's a nice herby quality with those peppers in there.
Mhm.
Really great for food pairings. So why don't we
Look at the slides.
jump back to the slides?
Can I do a quick little tangent?
Sure.
Okay. So we had a recipe that was years ago that was a very good recipe. And evidently we were missing an ingredient. And so Jeff substituted.
No, I know. Yeah, I'm sorry. We don't have time for this. I'm sorry. We're running out of time.
A different spice that was also, well, it was also green. I mean, come on, the herb was also green. It should be the same. It's clearly the same color, so it's fine.
Yes,
This was a while.
this was a while ago. Yeah, I
But
did.
It's not fine. I took one bite and I was like, did you do
Yeah, what
this?
normally goes in there? Oregano, right?
Did you use basil instead of oregano?
I think I used basil instead of
Yeah.
oregano,
Yeah.
and it
It's
was
not the
not.
same.
It was not a
It's
small
not the same,
change.
Even though they look the same.
They
It's
look-
shockingly,
They look so similar.
don't taste the
Come
same.
on.
Yeah, there you go.
It was my choice was not well received. So
No, everyone in the family still talks about it, or at least Ashley and I do a lot.
you know what? That way it makes it much easier if we talk about, like, I was kind of struggling to place my thumb on exactly which herbs I'm getting here.
Mhm.
Green.
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 It tastes
There we go.
green.
Green.
There you go.
Stays green. Right.
Ready?
Yes. All right, so wine label. This is a French wine label. It is a very traditional French wine label. So this is the part where we always talk about, all right, if you're in a store without any help, you're not at Tipple's, so you're on your own. Unless you know, like, basically the rule of thumb, French wine labels, right? You're gonna want help probably, unless you already know an area that you like. So if you already know that you like, after tonight, you say, you know what, I love this Syrah.
Mhm.
This is Crozes Hermitage. So if I see anything that's French and the word Hermitage is there and it's red, then I know I'm drinking Syrah, then I'm good to go. But that is well beyond where most wine drinkers are, right? So let's face it, this wine needs someone to direct you, right? If you're expanding in wine, you want to get something, hey, I want to try something old world, or if you're doing it, most likely, I would think, is based on a food pairing. You come in and say, I'm eating X,
Mhm.
and they say, oh, try this, right? But once again, that's all getting help. Most likely, you're going to want some help if you're just wandering around the store. For any customer, for most customers to pick up this wine. Les Meysonniers is the name of the first owner of the winery. That was the name of the original owners of the winery that has become Chapoutier. All right, so that is why that name is on there. So it's an homage. The label works better, with a wine professional. A no estate labeling. This is a negociant, right? Which will define that officially in a little bit because I haven't done it in
Okay.
months, right?
Mhm.
But negociants, they purchase these grapes. So I'm going to leave it there until I go deeper into what negociant means, because does that mean they have almost nothing to do with it? They just find grapes on the side of the road. We'll talk about that.
And then one of the chat that we have is about the braille on the label.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's nice. So interesting, second winery I've had in the store with braille on the label, both French.
Really?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes. So which is really cool though.
Yeah,
Worth
it's-
being.
It's Bila House, the other one, right?
Yes, Bill Howell, exactly.
Are they
So
from
you
the
look
same area?
They actually do overlap.
Okay, I didn't know
They
if that was
know
a
each other, they
region
work
of the-
together because most of Chapoutier is in the Rhone, and that is their traditional source. but they've expanded throughout the world and they've moved over to Languedoc. And so they actually cross over with Billaud now. Mhm.
Very cool.
So, and it's fun to see those crossovers. You're like, wait a minute, I know what's going on here. So, all right,
Next.
yes. All right, Syrah. So we drank a Syrah last week. It
Mhm.
wasn't only Syrah, it was Syrah Petit Syrah,
Mhm.
but that was a New World Syrah. And so we're going to talk a little bit in a moment about the differences between warmer growth and cooler growth, which last week was a warmer growth Syrah. This week, a cooler growth Syrah. So I can't see my notes.
There's nothing
So-
else there. You had already said it.
Origin in southeastern France, also called Shiraz and Hermitage. So we're in Crozes Hermitage. The big brother of the region, if you will, or big sister, is Hermitage. Crozes Hermitage, which we'll look at the map in a minute, circles around the mountain of Hermitage.
Okay.
Hermitage is so esteemed in
Mhm.
Syrah production that they literally sometimes just call it Hermitage. The
Oh,
grape.
okay.
So intense in color. The Syrah can add intense color, flavor, aromas, tannin. It's very flexible depending on how you grow it. It used to be, now this is, Syrah is known for the southeastern French region, the Rhone region, right? It used to be imported into Bordeaux
Oh,
and blended in with the Bordeaux. Bordeaux grapes, which we're talking about, we define those on different weeks, right?
mhm.
So Bordeaux grapes traditionally, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Malbec.
Okay.
There's some others, but those are the big guys, right? And mostly Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, everything in Cab Franc. So they used to throw Syrah in there to intensity and kind of boost it, give it a little something.
Mhm.
And until 1935. In 1935, they got a lot more serious about what was what with where in France. And they said, fine, you bring all the Syrah in you want, but now you're just Vin de France. That's it.
Okay.
You're just a wine of France.
Mhm.
You cannot call yourself Bordeaux if you add Syrah because it doesn't grow here. Now, if it was an approved grape and grown in Bordeaux, Syrah could be a thing.
But it's
it is
Still to this day, it's not.
not in this club. They just added 15 more, but I don't think Syrah was one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they're having to change their traditional grapes
Because of climate change.
because of climate
Mhm.
change. So
So as I look, maybe it's just the picture. It could just be the screen. I feel like it's a little more on the garnet side than the picture is. The picture is more purpley than red. I feel like just slightly.
well, and that makes sense because
Does it?
because that is going to be an amalgamation of all the Syrahs, right? Warm.
Mm.
This is warm and cool together.
Okay,
And we are dealing with a cooler. And actually, if you go to the next slide, please.
all right.
All right, let's talk about some flavors, and then the next slide will actually cover the color differences. Blueberry, not as much. That's more in warm growth
Okay.
with ours. Black plum, milk chocolate. Milk chocolate, once again, a bit more in the warmer growth. But tobacco, maybe that herby thing I was thinking, tobacco leaf, that actually makes a lot more sense. So tobacco and green peppercorn. So the cooler it is, you're going to get a little more of the pepper, you're going to get more of the tobacco, you're going to get more of the red fruits, get some raspberry and red plum in there,
Okay,
right? So, dry, yes, full bodied, yes. Medium to high tannins, we're dealing with, I'd call these medium.
good. That's what I was calling too. So
Yep, medium acidity,
that.
yep, good medium acidity. A lot of the big ones that are really highly tannic have much lower acidity. That's a kind of a scale.
Mhm.
And then alcohol up to 15%, even though I've seen a 16 from Australia, as a Shiraz, but we're at 14. So we're, 13.5 to 15, we're right there.
And either Chris or Robin agrees with it's more burgundy, but if there's just a small amount in the class, it's closer to that color.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
I like it. Yeah,
I love that the more burgundy, not garnet. We can't say garnet, evidently, some people.
burgundy in color. Burgundy, the adjacent wine region, right? Because a very cool growth Syrah can almost look like an intense Pinot Noir.
Mhm.
And hence Burgundy's red is
Right.
Pinot.
It's okay, we don't say crimson in this house, at least I don't, so.
Let's see, where was
Oops, oh,
I?
just hold on. Are you here?
Yes, this is where I want to be. So here's the different colors. So light bodied Syrah, cooler climate.
Mhm.
You're gonna have lower tannins. Savory olive, plum, pepper, boysenberry, smoky tobacco. You can get a lot of bacon fat. This one not as much, it's
Mhm.
more peppery, but
Yeah.
you can get them that taste like bacon. So just depending. And then, the fuller bodied Syrah, warmer climates, Australia, Paso Robles, Argentina, blackberry, blueberry, clove, allspice, black pepper, and then sweet tobacco, licorice, that kind of a thing. But you can see the difference in the color, and this guy sits in between.
I was just gonna say, I don't feel like it, feel like it splits the difference between them.
Mhm,
Mhm.
absolutely,
In both the flavors and the coloring.
I agree.
And
And that tends to,
and as far as like, I wouldn't call this light bodied either, I mean, it's,
Right.
yeah.
this is lower in the mountain,
Mhm.
so warmer.
Oh, okay.
Right, so you end up getting some, it'd be great to be, we're like, oh, well, let's get the most olive, porky Hermitage that we could all drink. It's like, if we all want to pop down $250 a bottle, we can do that, so.
I mean, if you're splitting it for tasting, then that's doesn't.
So I
isn't
meant,
that
but for this.
For this.
Individually,
No, not,
but that is more of what you can say, so why not, like, educate about it, like, if you are really intrigued, look for an Hermitage,
Mhm.
And you can taste all those things. It's going to be one of those nights where you're drinking this wine that to me comes across as a delight and a challenge, right? It's not.
That's me.
There you go.
Right, and also a challenge, there you go.
go.
You
Sorry.
notice that he didn't go, oh, no, you're not a challenge, sweetie.
I didn't.
No, you did not.
So, Syrah, one of the things I like about it is very flexible, right? There's a lot you can get out of Syrah. And it is one of those grapes that can grow from cool to warm climates, which is a lot of fun and still be excellent. It just has different qualities. So honestly, it's a great wine grape
Mhm.
because it does have flexibility and good qualities, no matter which temperature it's grown in, as long as you grow it well. So I honestly think I love Syrah.
Is it your favorite?
My favorite grape?
Mhm.
Probably not,
Okay.
We'll
but
text later.
yeah,
So
I mean,
Chris thinks you're a Zen guy. I know you're on the train for like because of California.
like I
Yes.
love a well-grown Zin. I
Okay.
do. And I'm a huge proponent of good Zinfandel. But I really love Syrah. And of course, I'm not, I'm a human with taste buds. We all love Cabernet Sauvignon. Everyone loves Cabernet Sauvignon, right? How can you
So
can't leave
we-
it off the list.
I don't have a favorite.
No, I don't have a favorite. I don't, because you know what else I really like?
It depends.
I really, really like well-grown Merlot as well. So yeah, you can
Alright.
just get me rolling.
Okay. All right. Like picking your favorite child. As I've said, my favorite child changes depending on the day.
Mhm.
I do have a favorite child. Just depends on what day it is.
Right.
I mean, today, I don't know. Well, I've talked to Reese. He called me.
Okay,
Ashley didn't, so he's the favorite today.
there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
So cool flexibility with the Syrah grape. Can vary greatly with the tannins and the color. Like I covered all that. So
Mhm.
looks like we're good. Let's go on to the structure of the
Okay.
grape, I believe is the next slide.
And Lynn and Paul did mention your campaign president.
President,
Yes.
thank you very much,
Mhm.
guys.
We need to do a whole thing with that in 2024. Since it's election year.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would be cool.
Mhm.
And I do. I love well-made Zin. I think it's fantastic.
We've heard you like
Right.
everything. It's fine. All right, Great Benelli.
All right, then let's talk to me about Sangiovese. We could have a whole different discussion. Anyway,
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
So this grape is really flexible. So in a warmer growth, we end up with thicker skin, more intensity in the peripheral zone. But, right, so we're dealing with cooler growth.
Mhm.
We still have wonderful color, flavor, intensity. It's really just different. The other thing that the Rhone has is a lot of wind. Wind thickens grape skin and keeps things cool and dry, right? Because you don't want rot or you don't want mildew. So they have the Mistral, right? The winds that flow because they go from the north to the Mediterranean and the south, and they blow across there. Most intensely, the Mistral is from basically winter into spring transition,
Okay.
but throughout the year it's windy. And so that does help a lot with that as well. Thicken those skins, but different flavors because of the coolness of the ripening. So
But again, most of the flavor is coming from the skin.
Most of
in
it,
that
yeah.
peripheral zone,
Yeah.
and then.
yeah, like most, not all. Like I would say a Pinot Noir is more balanced.
Mhm.
Like most red wine grapes, the intensity is really on the outer edge. Mhm. And that's probably the other point. All right, negotiants. I talked about this.
Oops, sorry. I'm trying to move.
Never mind.
I'm trying to move the people out of the way because everyone is in the way. Sorry, guys.
All right, negociant means trader in French, also known as a wine merchant. They buy grapes or juice or fermented wine, right? So it doesn't have a strong definition in the form of you could be a negociant and you could buy a finished wine to slap a label on it
Mhm.
and sell it, right? You had nothing to do with it other than you came up with a name and a label. Most of them are not that. Most of them very much are, and this is a combination of estate owned and negociant.
Mhm.
But for the most part in France, you're dealing with people that have multiple generations of contact with each
Mhm.
other. They grow it the way they want it. They have a lot of control. They don't own the land, right? So they are buying the grapes, but they are custom ordering, if you will, the growth of what is coming off that land. So
They're asking them to grow it in a certain way.
mhm,
Okay.
yes, that is with the wines that we sell, that is much more.
But if we wanted to, we could just buy some, put a Tipple's label on it and put it,
Absolutely, I could do that tomorrow.
let's do that tomorrow.
Now, depending on the price point we're hitting, it could be very much an impressive wine,
I want an impressive wine.
Impressive wine, yeah, that could be
Yeah,
pricey. Anyway, it's possible though. I mean,
okay.
it's a thing. So anyway, that's what negociant is, kind of a broad spectrum of options of what it can mean. In this particular case, they're working with these people for decades and decades. They are very much in control of the quality of the grapes they're getting. They're not just running around saying, "Who's got some grapes? I need some syrah." It's much more than that.
Before we move on,
Mhm.
just for, people that are here every week and hear me talk about certain things. Does anybody notice something about this slide that makes me really happy? He can be taught. I'm so proud of you. I think Chris and Robin have it. They're like, yeah, I see it. Maybe Rachel and David do too. Oh, Linda.
Comma?
Yes, the Oxford comma. I'm so happy.
Just gonna be over here drinking, all right?
All right, ready?
Yes, by the way,
Well, the slide
most.
demand the comma.
Wait. Most champagne houses,
Mhm,
in fact, by far,
mhm.
and we're talking about champagne here, real champagne.
Right, real champagne.
Are negotiants. So to put that in perspective,
Really?
right, yeah.
Why?
But it's just not that, there's there's a lot of demand through certain houses, and there's not that much land up there with the growing, so.
Oh, okay.
And it's also kind of just been a tradition. Some people grow, some people make wine. And there, there's much less crossover in Champagne tradition.
I have a joke for the after party with that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so where are we? We are here, just above the midpoint in the northern latitude, right? Right there.
Yeah, I'd say like 2/3.
Right. So when we get into it here, here's the Northern Rhone Valley. So it's interesting because we talk about the Rhone all the
Mhm,
time, right? And so the origin of the Syrah grape is from two kind of not well-known grapes. There's no point in even talking about them. But it's from here toward the Alps.
Okay.
All right. And then it moved down into here with,
It obviously
the
didn't
years.
grow very well up there since there's like nothing up there now.
Right, yeah,
Right.
exactly. But this is the kind of the origin was here.
Okay.
And now this is the vast majority of it being grown, but when we go up in here, that's one reason pricing is much higher. You can see there's so much less area that you can grow
Yeah.
as you get up north here with Syrah because it just gets so cool. So they're along the river.
Mhm.
They've got a breeze, but also the river will keep it from getting too cold in the winter, so you won't freeze out the vines completely.
Sure.
Anyway, in Germany, they're along the rivers a lot of times because they need the extra reflected light in order to get enough light on these grapes to bring them to ripeness.
Okay.
So not, what's
So
coming
these
from
get
the sky,
reflected like light and heat in Germany.
right?
Okay.
But this actually, when we look at it, will look a lot like the Mosel
Oh, so Jerry.
wine growing regions that we talked about because of the steep,
Okay.
the steep
Do they have
areas.
terrace
Yeah, they have
areas?
terrace areas, yeah. So here we are. So Crozes Hermitage, you can see Hermitage is
It's
this
tiny.
little thing here, and here's Crozes Hermitage around.
Okay.
Côte Rôtie up here, there's the northern tip.
Mhm.
They tend to have definitely have white and red blended together for their reds.
With the
Remember I
Viognier,
talked about
the
it? Yeah, with the
Viognier in it?
Viognier,
Okay.
yeah. So here we have the Rhone River. Here's the,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So let's see here. Most famous area in the Northern Rhone
Mhm.
is Hermitage. Most famous area in the Southern Rhone would be Chateauneuf-du-Pape, right? So Hermitage surrounded by it's cooler growth along the banks of the Rhone River, very hilly. The designation was created in 1937. So just a little bit after Bordeaux said, no more Syrah, right? 92% of the production here is Syrah, red grapes.
Wow.
The other 8% is split between Marsanne, Roussanne, and Viognier.
Okay.
Crozes in Crozes Hermitage is a reference, it means groove. So it's a reference to the hilly areas in the valley around the river. Hermitage is the name of the adjoining small mountain where a knight returned from the Crusades and began living as a hermit on top of it. So Hermitage.
Okay. I was wondering if that was what it was.
It-
Like
it-
that it was named for like a hermit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
named for a hermit. Yeah, an hermit, and
All right.
a hermitage, right? Pebble
Like
covered
really?
slope.
Like that's an insane story.
Right? Yeah, like literally, this is around there. There was that small mountain that's kind of in the center of it. A knight came back from the Crusades and he became a hermit on top of there. And later on, they began growing grapes there and they named it for him. He was very famous.
That's amazing. So
Incredible.
Yeah. I love those kind of stories.
Yeah.
All right, next one, please.
Mhm. I'll move the people out of the way. There you go.
All right, M. Chapoutier, right, began, it's been around a minute, began in 1808. Yeah. So it's been around over 200 years. Several name changes over the years, became M. Chapoutier in 1955. for Marc Chapoutier, not Michel Chapoutier, who is the current.
Is that this guy?
That's Michel there,
Okay.
right? So Michel's father, Marc, changed the name to M. Chapoutier. His sisters all start with an M.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
now they all have to start with.
They all start with M.
Mhm,
They do. They have different product lines,
mhm.
all sourced similarly, but they all start with an M. So large negotia and estate, both, which I mentioned, throughout France, Spain, Portugal, Germany, and Australia now. If you go to the
Wow.
next slide, please. So here they are. Their footprint is all around the world.
Have we had anything from the other places?
Yes, in store. Do you remember the in-store French wine tasting with the young woman, the Bill of Hot
Yes,
and all
yes,
that stuff?
yeah.
So Chapoutier is part of it.
Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
yes,
Yeah, I remember.
which we were talking about earlier. Yes, they are related. They are related enterprises, right? So
She was just over here, like telling us about stuff, right? Or
She is-
here now.
she is here. She is the US liaison for the brand.
Okay.
Right. In 1990, Michel took over as the company, the leader of the company at 26 years old. Yeah. He loves being in the field and considers himself as much a farmer as a winemaker. He sees winemaking as an art and taking care of the land as an obligation. He requires biodynamic production of every vineyard that works with them at this point. It's still a family business, still very much hands-on. So, let's go forward. I've got a couple other slides. Biodynamic. And then here's, by the way, that looks like that's the same kind of thing with the signage and everything they do in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, when they go up
In
along the
Mosel,
slopes in
that's
the
what you're
Mosel,
talking
yeah.
about, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it just so much, a lot of it reminds me of how they work in there, and they're working along a river and
I think you
similar
should
slopes.
be like, this reminds me of Germany.
Oh, I'm sure they'd love it.
Probably be worse the other way around, but maybe not. I don't know.
All right,
Oh.
so
Wait. before
let's stop.
we talk about this, yeah.
Time to stop, catch your breath, take a sip. And
I will say this is the second time I have had to fill my own glass. It's very disappointing.
I'm sorry, my priority was our guests.
Yeah, well.
This is Shiba, you know.
Oh my gosh, look at the doggo.
I know. Shibas are adorable.
Mhm.
All right, so that is the spiel. Thoughts?
I really love this. I had a little bit of it when we first opened it around 7:30. I guess had a little taste of it, threw it in the fridge, kind of forgot about it for 30 minutes or so. And my first reaction was I was like, oh wow, like the fruit really pumps. And I joked to her where I was just like, oh, this is funny, kind of tastes like a syrah. And well, I said Shiraz, and then I was like, syrah, whatever. Because I was, well, I guess it's French, not realizing that this was actually literally a syrah. So like later on, I had this and I was like, oh, this is really good. I really, really love it. And I think it really opens up nicely.
Yeah, I think it's very nice.
Having with the food was interesting because again, we kind of had this like hoisin, soy, blah, blah, blah mixture. I thought the fruit and sweetness of this wine was kind of muted, and the sort of earthiness and the herbiness. I really do like the tobacco note and the olive note the more I think it opens up. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's great. I think it again, I like how it's kind of changed depending on what we've had, and I like how it's changed as it's opened up.
Yeah, it's very tasty, and I think pairing with something very umami heavy kind of like takes away some of the fruit flavors and leans more into some of the savory flavors of it.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, no, honestly, I'm trying to think of Jake-isms for describing this at this point. And now that it's opened up, it's like a black olive stuffed with raspberries that I dropped in the dirt and ate anyway.
Okay, yeah, you have to write that down and tell Jake that
Right.
tomorrow and see, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, at first, when my first sip was, I thought it was a lot fruitier than I expected it to be. It's opened up a lot.
Oh,
since
right,
then.
yeah.
Mhm. And then the cider said they're really into this complex and involved with the
Mm.
temperature and food, all the things, which is funny because that's kind of like the description of what you can eat it with. All the things,
All the things.
meats, all the cheeses.
No, honestly, because it has so much going on with it, right?
Right.
So you're like, oh, will it work with that? Yeah, it'll work with that. Yeah, right. It's like, can you have it with chocolate? If it's bitter chocolate, if it's a real dark chocolate, sure, I could see that. Like we had that one. We had one that was an intensely dark chocolate
Mhm.
that was blended with raspberry black tea. That would
Did
go
I?
with this.
I don't think I
No,
had
it's
that.
still at the store.
Oh, okay, I'll have to try
It's
it.
fantastic.
Okay.
So that was, to me, kind of the sweetest, if you call it sweet, it's really not very
Mhm.
sweet, but the most desserty thing it could go with, because to me, I really want this with meats, I want it with a nice burnt ends barbecue or something like that.
Okay, and
right?
yet that was not what you mentioned in the pairings at all, just so you know.
I have to make choices. Like, how many pairings am I going to put in there?
Okay,
Right.
all right, Brenda and Linda.
So, well, interesting. So we opened it up and each took a sip of it and we were both like, we thought it kind of tasted light and watered down and, which is fine, but it wasn't what we wanted. But then we started eating, we had eggplant and ricotta pizza. And it went very well with that. And then since we started eating and even now after eating, it's definitely opened up and it feels like it has more oomph to it than those first sip or two before we ate.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree, like, when my first sip, it didn't taste very complex to me at all.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that's a great call.
Mhm.
I think it is. It does. It needs a breath. And I think you're totally right. And like at first, when I had this at first,
Mhm.
and I popped the bottle, I had to pop my own bottle to drink this because there's not as much as this around. So
You didn't, so a distributor didn't share it with you at all? You just ordered one and?
I ordered one and
Okay,
tried it.
okay, all
Yeah.
right.
So because I wanted to get a nice Crozes, right? But I wanted it to have that old world quality. So I popped it and I thought, it's fruity. Like I want
Yeah.
I want this to be French, old world. I need, and then we drank it and it just kept getting more and more of what I actually wanted out of it,
Yeah.
which is why we ended up here. So it's one of those that I feel like is really good because it scratches the itch for the old world,
Mhm.
right? But it won't leave people behind that are just new world wine drinkers. They might not love it.
They might need to drink it early
Yeah.
before it becomes what it is. And then David noted that it's phenomenal with brisket and turkey barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That sounds excellent.
And Jerry? What did you guys have with it? You're muted.
I know, yeah. We had a South Chinese dish, a steamed spare ribs with black beans. A
Oh,
very mild dish, but with also an Indian style fried okra with cayenne and cumin and things like that. Went very well with those.
Ooh,
no,
that sounds very
fantastic.
good.
This sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Mhm.
Right? I love it. People make it so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say that when we first opened it, I thought it was very smooth. I still think it's very smooth, very balanced. I can taste the fruit, I can taste the spice, but I don't think one or the other takes over or overpowers it at all. I mean, I just think it all, I would not take a sip and go, oh, this is very fruit forward, or, oh, I can taste all the spice. It just, if I sit there and think about it, I can discern all of those flavors, but one doesn't stand out more than the other to me. So-
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, I
That-
agree. It's very balanced.
It's very balanced, and
Yeah.
that's a well-crafted French wine for you, right?
Mhm.
Right. They're not all that way, but all the good ones are, and that is that French wine philosophy, which is, I want some of all of it across the board,
Mhm.
or else they're not happy, which is why, many French are not huge fans of the New World wines, because you have big, you say, oh, I've got big fruit and I've got big spice, and they, well, where's the earth? Where's the,
Sure.
so I get it,
Yeah.
even though I do enjoy New World quite a bit, but.
No, I love this wine. I also like big calves and,
Mhm.
yeah. So, but I agree, it's a very
I love that.
balanced.
That was a great observation. The balance is fantastic, and
Yeah.
you're right. And that is a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And that is on the winemaker. That is the choices from the field. It all comes together. A balanced wine always it blows me away in its subtlety. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Right? Because it's so beautifully balanced.
Mhm.
That takes a ton of work,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot easier to just have big fruit and big spice. Hey, I've got new barrels and big fruit. It's gonna be 16.5%, and it'll be a party in a bottle, right? That's not the same thing as this. This takes a lot more work.
no, it's interesting because we always compare it to like other art forms, right? So when I'm thinking about music and a conductor, and you've ever played in band, like the trumpets want to take over, right? Like they
Always.
definitely want to take over. And you have to convince them to be a blend and part of it. And that's like this to me, it's all the instruments coming
Yeah,
in.
good luck with that.
Well, yeah, trumpets, percussion.
Trumpets and percussion. Drum major nightmares. Anyway,
Jeff wakes up in a cold sweat. So
I'm
that's
like,
the percussion section.
we could have geeky discussions.
Right, there you
So
go.
anyway. All right. So
Before we move on to the
Before we move
readings,
on.
any last
I've been loving this. It's been great.
questions, noticings? Okay,
All right.
all right.
Let's check it out. All right, so the experts put it up here in the outstanding category, right? Right in there in 90 plus. Let's just call it that as an average, right? And the outstanding. So wine superior character and style. Is it a combination in your mind of, did you enjoy it? Is it good for where it's from? Is it good for the price point? All of those wonderful things. Or is it a very good wine with special qualities? You say, all right, this is excellent. I'm glad I bought this one. There's nothing wrong with an 80s. You don't see them as much. So things tend to be bumped up to where if you really enjoyed the wine, it would be a 90. But it doesn't mean it has to be that way. Things to take into account, once again, are price points in addition, so that there are wines that you'll have, you say, well, this is a nice wine. You're like, yeah, but it was $9.50 a bottle, and it was actually worth drinking. Like, oh, that's why it got a 90, right?
Right.
Or you have something that's like, oh, that was 185 a bottle. And you're like, it was good.
So wait a second. So when they're rating it, they know what price point the winemaker is hitting?
Oh, yeah. They know.
They do.
Yeah, they know that.
So I didn't realize that influenced their rating.
Yeah, no, it's not blind in that way at all. They know everything about the wine going in.
Huh.
So there is an aspect.
No, that's a very interesting thing, because then I know that if I'm drinking a $93.150 bottle of wine,
Right.
it better be a hell of a lot better than a $93.25 bottle.
That's why I say champagne's a great example. A 94-point champagne is exceptional
Okay,
because they all get 90s.
okay.
So for them to move up,
Mhm,
it takes a lot more in champagne.
Okay.
Same thing with Napa Cabs,
mhm.
usually.
Well,
There's a little more going on.
brand specifically?
One, and I've seen one other one that got a rating I didn't think was appropriate.
Mhm.
But Champagne tends to be a really good example, right? Everyone expects good things from the region of Champagne. So they tend to like, have I ever seen a 75-point Champagne? No, I've never seen one. Right? But they're almost all 90. But when you see a 94-pointer, you rarely see it break out of that 90 to 92 range.
Okay,
It takes a lot for them
Mhm.
to break out of that orbit.
okay.
So there are patterns that you'll see.
You know, I don't think in the 3 years that we've been doing this, I've ever realized that that was an aspect that they knew. Like, all right. If I were to like be in control of it, which clearly I'm not, but I would love for them to blind taste it, not know what the price point is,
Mm.
not know who made it, nothing. Just know, okay, this is a Syrah.
Right,
And then from the region, so that they know, okay, you know,
right. so you
and
know
then
what to
just
expect.
be, just read it.
I honestly, the optimal thing would be that every single wine, in order to be labeled for sale,
Mhm.
had to be rated. Right? Every single one has to be rated.
Mhm.
And then you would get your spectrum, right? So
Well,
then,
then you'd probably have a bell curve. but
right, then you'd
you're
get a
not
bell
going
curve,
to.
right? So you'd
Yeah.
get your 62s out there, which I could name a name, but anyway.
I love that's in the not recommended, yeah.
Right. You'd get those out there. And
Mhm.
then like, yeah, but it's a liter of wine for $7.50, right? So, all right, it's a 62, but it is what it is. That would give you that bell curve, which we don't get because people pay for the rating.
Right,
Um,
and they submit if they think it's good.
they submit if they think it's good, so it
Mhm.
probably is good because they're not idiots.
Right.
They're in the
But they're
business.
also like, hey, we're gonna market this for $15.
Right, like, when I'm brewing, I know when my beer is good and when it's just, that one I need to work on.
There have been several that have gone down the toilet.
That happens, right?
Yep, okay, so I'll stop this a moment.
Okay, and we're gonna
Alright.
talk about
Yeah, and then we'll
what
talk
everyone
about
thinks.
and oh, this is why Elizabeth keeps it real. We didn't realize that either. Yeah, it's been 3 years. That's the first time he's mentioned that they know the price going in, right? So it's very interesting to me that, yeah, they know. So
Oh, sure,
so a
they know.
$93
Right, so they're going in,
wine is
right, if
different.
they're saying like, look, here I'm drinking a New Zealand sub block, all right. Maybe I'm drinking Frenzy, which by the way, Frenzy's a nice, solid, well-made New Zealand sub block.
Okay,
I carry it in the store, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, you know what? For $16, nice bottle of wine. And it hits where I want it to be. Like there's a higher echelon of what they want as well, They're like, all right, we want it to hit these notes. Is it well made? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all right, fine. But if they say, oh, well, this was a single barrel, single vineyard Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand, that's $160 a bottle, they're going to have expectations of it meeting something and it should taste significantly different from the 90 they just gave to Frenzy.
yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I know, I'm glad you mentioned that. So, okay, so let's see, Paul said 87 until I tried it, excuse me, with blue cheese in my barbecue sauce, and then maybe a 90. Linda in 89, Consuelo in 91, Chris and Robin both in 92, Brenda and Linda both in 90. Jerry, is it just you that's rating? He's typing, so right now he's at a 90.
90 for me and 85 for Michael.
85.
And Harriet's neutral.
Okay. And then for the Snyders, David's a 90 and Rachel is a 92. So Chris said it's one of those things about certain California cabs that are really expensive.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yes, certain ones.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Sure, it's good, but there's stuff at half the price point that's just as good, if not better. Yeah,
Yep.
well, exactly. Mhm.
Absolutely. All
Yeah.
right, so some more 90 pluses, I'm 92, I love it.
Yeah,
So-
I read those prior to
Okay.
going to, but yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Excellent.
All right. Oh, I would have said 92.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I love it. Mhm.
I'm glad you like it so much. And that's the thing. And,
No.
and the bottom line is it comes down to is drink what you like. And
Yes.
this is all just fun. Like there's
Right. No, it's interesting because this is a wine that I think in 2016,
Mhm.
prior to my wine education, which really started 3 years ago
Mhm.
with this,
Sure.
but I don't think I would have liked this wine.
I agree.
Mhm,
I agree.
mhm.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a good point. And I'll tell you, with the evolution of this wine, when we first popped the cork, I probably would have said like an 87, 88,
Yeah, well, there you go.
because I would have wanted more of those other qualities. And then
That's
they
okay.
all came out,
Yeah,
and now I'm much happier.
no, when you first poured it for me, I was like, yeah, this is not what I asked for, Jack.
Oh, you little faith.
The camera keeps migrating, by the way. I keep moving it.
It's just all going to Elizabeth. This is what everyone wants to see anyway. So let's see, it came through, right?
It did, it came through, okay,
Almost like I have a certain set of skills.
that is true. I mean, I keep you around for a reason. There you go.
My wine selections. All right,
Ready?
next, please. All right, thank you, Wine Folly, Wikipedia, wine.com, and Chapoutier.com.
Next.
Yes. Next week's wine. We've had a good run of reds. It's time for us to enjoy the lighter side of life. All
It's
right.
Like we said last week, we have to learn about white wines as well. I said it
And
better this week than I said it last week. So.
by the way, so we are returning to the new world,
Mhm.
but we're drinking an old world blend. So a little fun, right? All right. This is a Bordeaux white blend. Their traditional blend is Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon,
Okay.
but from Washington State. Delisle Cellars. Oh, we'll talk about some.
I'll have to mention Cornish game hens to my mother because she makes very good Cornish game hens. So
Awesome ratings. Wine Spectator 92, Wine and Spirits 90. Year on year, it's always up there. Cornish game hen, veal piccata, asparagus risotto, and yellowtail sashimi as options.
all right.
So I hope you guys will come back and enjoy this wine with us online as well. In the meantime,
And then it's just us next week, and that's it. Just like crickets. There's no one here.
there's no one here,
It's
it's white
fine.
wine. No, they won't do that to me. Chris looks excited.
Columbia, so a Washington white blend, that sounds great. I don't know what you guys could possibly be upset about.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, I realize my voice is very
It's-
monotone,
he
so
sounds
I
like he's
sound
sarcastic.
I am being extremely sincere right now.
Yeah.
He's very
I like it.
excited.
That'd be like, well, thanks, Chris. Jesus.
I can't believe you guys aren't excited for this thing. It's all about to enjoy. Here, I will open it.
That's great. All right.
Okay, any last comments before we stop the recording? There's music coming from the other room. all of a sudden.
Evidently, our Google Home thought we told it to play some music. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Nice job, Chapoutier.